Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, and welcome once again to the Self-Improvement Basis for Community Development Talk Show. I'm your weekly host, Brother James Muhammad, and I'm honored to have back on the show again my friend and my co-host, Brother Demetrius Muhammad, from Muhammad Mosque number 55 here in Memphis, Tennessee. Good afternoon, brother.
Good afternoon, Brother James.
And welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Today we'd like to continue our subject matter, part 3, the Bible, Genesis to Revelation, as it relates to the black man and woman here in America. Today we'd like to continue our discussion on the second book of Moses called Exodus, and how can we relate that to our sojourn here in America. But particularly we'd like to focus on a Final Call article titled Gang War Report Proves Conspiracy to Destroy the Black Male. Now, many might be saying, well, how can you tie that into the book of Exodus? And that's going to be my first question. When we read the book of Exodus and the Old Testament, should we read it historically or should we be looking at it more prophetically?
Brother James, once again, we're very honored to have the opportunity to be on your program, which is fast becoming one of the most viewed cable access programs in the city. Everywhere we go, we often find your viewers, and they're very excited about the quality of programming that is now over the airwaves, particularly getting an opportunity to hear the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as expressed by Minister Farrakhan through his local representatives, unabashedly in the privacy of their own homes, where they can sit, listen, and evaluate the message of the Nation of Islam. And so we are honored to once again be here at the behest of Minister Farrakhan's local representative, Minister Anthony Muhammad, to share what we have learned from this great body of knowledge that is called the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And this subject is one that is a frequent subject that we deal with in Muhammad's Mosque and as we deal with our people. Because when you look at the black community at large, we find that our community is riddled with problems, riddled with social problems, economic problems, health problems, moral and spiritual problems also. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he taught us that our people are righteous by nature, but we have become other than that by circumstance, by the experience that we have had, particularly here in North America for the last 400 years, where we were stolen from Africa. And we know that some of the Africans participated in the slave trade, but nonetheless, the blacks here in America were part of a great theft where many engineers, scientists, doctors, and builders of civilization were robbed from the shores of Africa and brought here to North America to be made slaves and to build America, which has allowed America, if you will look at the history of all the great world superpowers, America is the youngest of those superpowers. She's younger than Great Britain, she's younger than the nations of Asia, but yet she has grown up in a short span of time of only maybe 250 years. And now she is the greatest nation on the face of the earth. Partly responsible for that great, tremendous growth is that she had our fathers and mothers in slavery for hundreds of years. And so we see the plight of our people today as being a fulfillment of what we read in the Bible. Now, this is a very significant subject because the Bible is a book that most black people are familiar with, but we really don't understand it. And the reason is because it's the same way when you look at a photo, Brother James. When you look at a photo, the psychologists say that whenever you look at a photo, the first person you look for is yourself. And if you don't see yourself, then you can ascertain the value either more or less of that photo. Well, the same way it is with any form of literature, any writing, or any information. We always want to see how that information is relevant to our own selves. And the slave master gave the slaves the Bible not for the purpose which the Bible was intended. All books of God which are considered divine revelation proceed forth first in an oral form from the mouths of prophets. God raises these men to speak, thus saith the Lord, to guide and correct man and mankind so that they will come back to the straight path of God, the Creator, the one true and living God, so that they will serve Him and no other. Now, if a slave master is interested in having a slave serve him and bow down to his will, not the will of God, but to his will, then we know just from the nature of the situation that the gift of the Bible was not well intentioned. So now fast forward to the 20th century and the emergence of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, who was taught by a man named Master Farad Muhammad. And he taught him how to unlock the wisdom of the Bible by using the scriptures, the prophecies of the book, and applying them to our condition here in America. And he said to us that the story of the Israelite, the children of Israel in Exodus, was in fact a prophecy of his people here in North America. The story of how they were in a strange land among strange people for more than 400 years, and how the ruler in that strange land sought to destroy or prevent the birth of one who would naturally be born from among that people to liberate them, to free them from the grip of captivity. And you read it in the words of Exodus, when Pharaoh and we should say his advisors, they say, "Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply and join on to an enemy of ours and come against us." So we see that as a template. We see that as a script that the black man and woman of America have played out to the fullest, but also the government of America has played out to the fullest in all of her efforts to subvert the rise of a man born from among black people in America who could unite us and free us and guide us to liberation. So the Final Call newspaper, which is the world's greatest newspaper, is right. There is a conspiracy against the life of the black man and the black woman, because even though Pharaoh was interested in preventing the birth of a deliverer, of a liberator, the plan that he hatched would ensnare all of the males of the children of Israel. And so all of the males who were able to be caught, they were destroyed. And likewise it is today with the black man. He is the victim of a prison industrial complex. He is the victim of the HIV virus, which many researchers today are deducing was a part of the biological warfare plans of many of the world's governments. He is the victim of racism. He's the victim of self-hatred. The black man and woman of America are a people who, as the book of Isaiah says in the scripture, have been robbed and spoiled. And now we believe that God has saw fit to raise up from among us, just as he promised he would, a deliverer, a liberator, and his name is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But the scripture often reveals that the methodology of God in scripture is that he would not just give you one Messiah or one liberator or one deliverer, but for every major prophet, he gives him a helper. He gives him a helpmeet, if you will. So for Moses, there was Aaron. For Elijah, there was Elisha. For Jesus, there was Paul. And we believe today that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, being the deliverer born among us, God has equipped him with a helper. He's enabled him in his mission by giving him the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And the world now bears witness to the brilliance of the wisdom coming from Minister Farrakhan and the power of his message to resonate among a group of people who heretofore, before hearing his message, were dull and lifeless and had no energy and no upward movement towards civilized behavior. So we would hope that through what we are sharing over the airwaves, that our people here in the city of Memphis would be drawn closer to the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as it is being taught by Minister Farrakhan, because we have an explanation for the problems that are arising in our community today. We have an explanation and an answer to black on black crime, to deadbeat dads, to an ever increasing divorce rate, to the problem of obesity.